All right, it's my first time live. Not really sure how YouTube Live works. I went live. I've been live on Facebook before, but YouTube, I'm not really sure. So I don't know if this video saves after I close it or what, or if it's just whoever happens to log on to watch it. So kind of just wait and see if anybody happens to jump on. But last video I made was just giving you guys an update on my status of where I'm at right now, my job. As you can see, I'm currently at my job now. I work at an urgent care clinic live, so there may or may not be somebody walking in right now as we speak, but I work in different locations. I'm at an urgent care clinic has different locations around the state. So one day I'll be in this town, another day I'll be in another city, and we just have a random schedule. No particular method to it. We just give our schedules a month in advance. We kind of tell them, what days we need off, and they'll schedule us accordingly. And we know ahead of time what town that we'll be working in. But there's only one provider for each location. So right now I'm the only provider in this particular clinic. I have two medical assistants, and and me. So it's usually just three of us or four of us. But as the PA here, I'm the only one that, I'm the only one making the decisions as far as the medical decisions. So I kind of like it. And at times like this, when it's, we have a little bit of a lull where it was kind of busy earlier today. Right now it's settled down some. So we're just hanging out right now. This is my little office that they give me, and I figured I had some time to go on YouTube Live. So I'm hoping that this video saves afterwards. That way I don't have to, that way people can look at it later if they have any, questions and so forth. I'm not exactly sure where I can see any chats, but so yeah, it's just pretty much my life today. It's usually 12-hour shifts, a few days a week, maybe 3 days a week, sometimes 4. We have, and there's always opportunity to pick up more shifts. And yeah, that's how it is with me right now. So the title of this kind of is a general random title, but last night my father had to go to the emergency room. He checked himself into the emergency room because he's had ongoing health issues throughout the years, things here and there, and he had noticed that sometimes he was getting some bleeding when he urinates. So it was, pretty alarming to him. So he decided to go to the ER yesterday. He noticed that, and then he was also feeling like he was going to faint a couple times during the day. So he felt it was best to go to the emergency room. So he went in the emergency room about 3:30 in the afternoon yesterday. I wasn't there. I was working, so I didn't really know anything until after I got out of work. And he didn't have the best experience with how things were ran at this particular hospital. Now, this is the local hospital that we live around. It's a small hospital, but it's the closest one. And he just didn't really have the best experience with it because he was just there for so long. And it took a long time for them to do different things. Um, and I'm just going kind of by what the things he was telling me. Um, and he went there at 3:30. He didn't leave there until about almost 10:30, and a lot of it was just sitting around, waiting around. Um, couldn't really find out what was going on with him, what particular um, labs needed to be ordered, or the only thing that they did for him was did an EKG when he got there on him and gave him some IV fluids. And he didn't really see the first doctor that seen him for several hours after, to give him an update on things, check up on him, see how he's feeling. My father takes a number of medications, so he was asking for certain medications that he needed to take, and he wasn't able to get any of those, even though they had promised to give him some of his medications. And um, it didn't really seem like, from what he was saying, that there was any real concern for anything, no sense of urgency, or any sense of compassion, or that anybody really cared about what was going on. He said the only time that the the nurses and the staff were excited or had some kind of urgency was when they brought in um, some pizza into the emergency room, and people were scrambling around this pizza to eat. And and it made me think about some things, as a healthcare provider, because there's times where I can see their frame of mind, and I can see that what they're thinking is that this person isn't my family. This person, I don't know this person. I'm talking about as far as the staff looking at a patient, and it's really just whatever to me. Um, and I could see how they probably feel like that because they don't know my father from whoever. And it did make me think about it because I have been guilty of feeling like, there's times where, you know, plenty of times I don't know really majority of my patients, and sometimes you tend to forget about, that could be somebody else's, well, that is somebody else's father, or brother, or family member. And you know just as much as I wish that my father had better care last night, um, you do forget that, to keep that in mind as a healthcare provider, that there's times where patients have come right before we're closing, and we kind of rush them along and not really take into consideration of this person's in need of some kind of care. But it did make me think about that, and really always keep in mind that um, we have patients, family members. We have people that have their parents coming in to be cared for, and it's my job to make sure that they're cared for and they have the utmost attention, and not just somebody that we're just trying to get out the door, and just move along so we can close up the clinic. So even though my father went to the emergency room last night, it was, some he's okay now, but it was bad news for me that he had went. But it makes me feel, it makes me a better provider now, because in school they're gonna give you in PA school they're gonna talk to you about ethics and having empathy towards patients. But a lot of times, you don't always keep that with you, and you sometimes will forget. And when it comes to be one of your family members, that has to be cared for and they have a bad experience, um, it kind of resonates with you, and it makes you feel that now you have a duty um, to really, you know, change that and make a great experience for all patients, no matter if you know them or not, or if they're related to you. Um, so, I'm glad that my father's okay. He doesn't really wish to go to that hospital again. If anything, he's gonna try to go to somewhere else if that were to happen. But I'm kind of glad it happened because it brought back to me that what I should be doing as a healthcare provider. So that's just a little something I want to share with you. A lot of you guys watching my videos um, is because that you guys are interested in becoming um, a PA or a healthcare provider, and it's just something that you should remember. You know. So other than that, everything else is good. Everything else is good. I'm in a clinic right now. We some days we have a chiropractor that's here, and she sees patients as well. But for the most part, I'm enjoying my job. Uh, it's different. I get students that from the local universities. They will send students on their rotations for primary care, and the urgent care is under that subject matter. So it's considered primary care. So I'll sometimes get a student, which is fun for me because I pretty much just came out of school not too long ago, less than a year ago. So I can definitely relate and help the student as far as things with school and finding a job. I'm still a new provider. I'm still learning. Uh, you're always going to be learning for a while, but I've been here for about 4 months, and I got the hang of it pretty early on. Anyways, like the first month, I pretty much got the hang of it. But you still never know what's going to walk into that door, and you just handle it the best you can. It's not, again, I'm in urgent care, so it's not emergency. It's not the emergency room. People get that confused, and patients that should be in the emergency room come to urgent care clinics sometimes, and we have to redirect them and say your situation is a little bit more emergent, so you should be in the emergency room. Um, so I tell my students that with urgent care, where we deal with acute things, there's no life threatening. For the most part, there's nothing that comes in the door that's life threatening. So if you're not sure, if you just, God forbid, happen to make a mistake or a misdiagnosis, chances are we can fix it. We're not going to do anything that's going to kill anybody or do any major harm. And I kind of enjoy to have something like that where it's not so stressful, and I'm always worried or nervous at my job every day, like you would see in certain other specialties. So for right now, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Um, I'm gonna make a video soon about. I haven't made a video yet for clinical year. What I did for clinical year in PA school. I did one for didactic year. I think for clinical year, I need to make one, but just to get like a little quick um, talk about that. What I did for my rotations, each clinicals that I was on, I bought a book. I bought a Step Up book, and I also bought a first aid book on that particular rotation. Now you can get that on Amazon. Now let's say it was a OBG rotation. There's books on OBG for Step Up, and there's a book on OBG for first aid. And I just read both of those books. I kind of just compared the two, making sure that the information was consistent. And then I also did, would look at Pants Pearls or any study guides. But generally, I try to make sure that all the information is consistent in each book or guide that I'm reading. That way, I'll know that, I'll remember it better on tests and exams. There's one for behavioral medicine, step up, and first aid. And I think the first aid step up, I mean, the first aid book for behavioral medicine is the best one for that rotation. That's all you really need. And it's not really that big of a book. It's probably about maybe this big, if that. And it's got everything you need for that particular rotation of behavioral medicine. Um, when I first started working here, I would bring a few of those books with me because I wasn't really sure what's going to walk in that door. Now, all I bring is, I'll just bring my, what do I have? I mean, I still bring my pants pearls no matter what. And I will, sometimes I'll quickly look at something up. And I get a lot of people that have dermatology issues or skin issues. I get a lot of those. So a lot of times I'll look up in pants. I mean, I have up to date access, but I'm old school and I just like the quick flip of the book. Boom, it's right there. And it's generally, Pants Pearls pretty much tells me what I need. But for the rotations, I got a step up book and a first aid book for each rotation, which was OBG, behavioral medicine, primary care, emergency, internal medicine. What else? What else? And those all had the step up and first aid together, and I got them at Amazon. I forgot. Each rotation pretty much had, except for the surgery. Surgery was a little bit tricky. I forgot what I used to study. I think I just used study guides. But so yeah, I'm at work right now. Luckily, right now, see what happens at this job. We get a rush in the morning up until noon, lunchtime. People slow down coming in. People like to either come in early or they like to come in after work. And they go to work and they're not feeling good, or they're at school and they're like, what, after work, I'm going to the urgent care center, and it's usually like after 5 o'clock, and we close at 8. So, I work 8 to 8 when I do work, so it's 3 days a week. So I can set up my schedule the way I want, like a month in advance. So let's say I want to work every other day. I'll schedule Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and every day is a Friday because I have the next day off usually. Or I can just get it over with, work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, get a long weekend. Only thing is that I have to work at least 3 weekend days a month. So and that counts as a Saturday. That's my weekend. That's my weekend time. Or it could be Saturday and Sunday together, back to back, and that's 2 weekends I used up for the month if I want to get it over with. Or if I want to let's say I want to get Sundays off all month, then just work 3 Saturdays out of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I can come and go as I want. Right now, we don't have any patients. So if I wanted to go get something to eat, go to the store or something, my MA has got my back. They'll take, if a patient happens to walk in, they'll register them, triage them, and get them ready. By the time I get back from the store or something, they're ready to go. Hey, Jose. So I generally work. It averages about 40 hours, I believe. I have to work 3 12-hour shifts during the week, and then one weekend shift is either 8 hours or 10 hours. Okay, so it could be 40 hours. It could be a little bit over 40 hours. And then there's times where I don't have to work a weekend, so it's just a 3-hour shift, the 3 12-hour shifts. So that's a little bit less than 40 hours. So it averages about 40 hours. And I always have the option if I want to pick up a day, because they're always looking for somebody to cover somebody else, and they'll text me, can you work tomorrow? Or like I picked up a couple shifts last week, sorry, and 12 hours is a long to pick up just like that. So I told them I'll pick up, I'll help you, but I can't work the full day. I'll work a few, I'll work up until, let's say, I'll work 6 hours, so I'll work 5 hours or eight. They're just happy that you're going to come in, and at least they won't have to close the clinic. Again, where I work, they only have one provider, which in each clinic. So I'm the only provider in this clinic. If I was to all of a sudden feel sick right now, I'd have to let the staff know I'm not feeling well. I'm going home. Then they would just direct all our patients to a different clinic. And it's real flexible. It's real nice. I enjoy it. Um, I don't have any like anybody on top of me, like on stressing me out. I have classmates that are at their jobs, and a couple of them are already looking for new jobs because they're stressed out. They're in these big hospitals, or um, they have doctors on top of them, or other PAs really on top, other seasoned PAs that are really making sure they're online. And sometimes they get real stressed out, and then on top of that they're in more severe specialties where the patients are in more critical conditions, and sometimes unfortunately you might have a patient die on you, and that could be pretty stressful. um, and I don't think I want that kind of stress, especially on my first job. um, and it's pretty much, that's just how it is. It's what you really feel like you want. um, I'm not at my other friends jobs to see firsthand, but I listen to some of what they tell me, and I hear stories about other classmates that are looking for new jobs already, that just haven't even been working there for 6 months. you know um, I heard of some that I heard of, unfortunately, a couple classmates that got fired already because, sometimes, depending on what specialty you pick, they really expect you to be on your game. I mean, they know that you're new, and they will give you some leeway, but after some time, they want to make sure that you know your stuff and you really took time in school to take everything into consideration, study, and know your stuff. I mean that's pretty much all I can say about that. And if they see that you're not improving, or you just might not have it in you in certain specialties, then you know there's a lot of other PAs that are willing to be in your position, or there's a lot of PAs out there. Um, so I'm kind of just rambling on right now. But looks like I have a patient that just checked in. I'm looking on my computer behind my laptop, and uh, I see that a patient just got into the waiting room. So usually takes about 20 minutes or so for them to get registered and triage, and then they have to get their vitals taken by this medical assistant. Um, and so I know once somebody gets here, I have some time, but they kind of give me an idea of what they're here for. So this one that walked in, it says follow up on eye. So I'm guessing that somebody maybe had pink eye, and they are getting medication, and it says follow up. So they're either told to come back and just make sure that they're feeling better, or maybe the medication that they were given didn't help and they need something else. It's not working. Um, you know, and that's the thing here with urgent care. Um, the thing here with urgent care is that um, you might not know exactly what's going on. Let's say if it's a skin condition, like somebody has a type of rash, and you're not really sure what it is. So we'll give them like a cream or something. Hopefully that'll do the job and make the patient feel better. Um, but if it doesn't, they'll come back. We'll try something different. Now, I might have given this person some cream, but I might not be here when that patient comes back. It's always a different provider here every day. So that next provider is just as qualified as me to treat them. Now, a lot of times, some of the patients will try to find where I'm at, wherever location I'm at, and they'll say, you know, where's, the PA that I saw last time? I want to see him, or, you know, they'll try to like hunt me down to, and I try to tell them all our providers are just as qualified to see you. Sometimes they think that they'll try to use you as a primary care provider, and you have to let them know you need to have your own primary care provider. Sometimes it's the urgent care is just to be the, in between primary care and emergency. So the hardest part about being a PA so far, uh, just making sure that you stay on top of things. You don't uh, you just try your best. I To be honest with you, I got lucky with this job, and I feel pretty comfortable in my job. You know, they're pretty flexible, so they tell us if we're not comfortable with doing something. Um, we don't have to do it. We can refer them to somewhere else, or some, urgent care. There's no real training. That's probably the downside of it. There's no real training where you're with somebody who's been doing it a long time to kind of show you the way of what to do or how to do things, or you kind of have to develop your own method. So it's not like with surgery. You can follow somebody and they will show you how to do, certain procedures. They'll tell you what to do, or um, you know, you kind of you're out on your own in the urgent care. I mean, some places might have training, but from what I heard about urgent care, there's not much training, and there wasn't at my job. Um, we have access to up to date. We have the attending physician access to, if we have questions, we have his number, or we can call him, or we have other colleagues if we had questions to call them. I think so far the hard part with me with urgent care um, is that you see what other providers do, and it's not always consistent with what you learn in school. Sometimes in the real world, it could be a little bit different, and you get confused sometimes. It confuses you about, why did he give that antibiotic when in school we were told that it was this other antibiotic? And, then sometimes I get confused, like, oh, no, 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 I hate MA here. He's famous now. um, so, what was I saying now? I get confused sometimes if I see what another provider does and it doesn't really go with what I learn. And so that's one thing I have to really just make sure. I got to understand why they give this patient a certain medication that I wasn't used to learning about. Um, a lot of times is determining the difference from a cold, from a sinus infection to bronchitis to pharyngitis. And patients come in all the time with cold symptoms, and it becomes challenging to determine what it is exactly that they have. Do they need antibiotics? Do they not need? We'll give them the antibiotic. So it's really up to you to make these decisions and use a good judgment on what's best. Um, so I think that's challenging, and getting that across to the patient, trying to figure out what it is right in front of their eyes. The patients, sometimes when you're new, the patients are expecting you to already know what it is that they got going on. So you can't like stutter, you can't stall right then and there. You gotta kind of gotta be quick, or just look like or be confident in talking to them about, okay, you have a case of bronchitis. This is what we're gonna do for you. One, two, three. You can't be like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe you got bronchitis. So let's just try. And then they're like, huh? that's why they came to you. So I think that's probably the most challenging part from my end. Um, Feel free to always ask me questions. I'll try to make more videos later.